Hello again, another video about using Blender with Unreal. I'm going to be taking some weapons out of my project to use as base weapons to just be the actual location of where the weapons go. So if I make a new sword or put a new sword in, I can line up the new sword with the old swords so that they're in exactly the same world space. And so the shields are in the same orientation and stuff. You don't want the axe to have its blade pointing the wrong way as an example. It becomes a pain at a later date. So first thing we're going to do is go into preferences, add-ons, search for send to, and then when you use collections as folders, uh, game here is actually refers to the actual content folder. If you say game is the first folder, then everything else below that will be after the content folder. So if you ignore the name of mesh, you go to new, and we set this and we simply call this weapons, and then if we make another one in there and we call it swords, and then if we go into swords and we set in a mesh, let's just say a cube, and then if we test send, as you can see, it's created a folder, weapons, swords, and there's our cube. I really didn't want to send it to this project. That was a mistake. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export some meshes to use as the actual, the ones to mark the rotations and stuff. It's locations rather. I'm just going to export an axe, a shield, and a sword. Now you can export anything you want. Obviously, I'm going to get rid of this cube, and I'm going to import them. I'm going to import one the slow way first. As you can see, it's Control-Alt-Z for the shortcut. Right, now that we have them in, the first thing to do is get them all onto the same skeleton. We don't want them spread across different skeletons. So we're going to go into modifiers. We're going to simply select held on that one, held on that one, and held on that one. So now we're halfway there. We've got to go into the object properties as well. Go into relations, select held, just check it. Select them all. Set all transforms. Object apply and all transforms are there. If you right click it, you can set it to your quick favorites like R2, and then that way you're just using Q. Just didn't want to confuse anybody with why Q was giving me that. I'm going to send this to, actually, I only have a swords folder, so I'm going to make 2 more folders. I'm going to call this shields. And axes. I'm going to get rid of that one for now. So now we've sent them all to the right place. I now need to look at the skeletons. We can get rid of these as well. We hide these to make our lives easier. Select this one. It's held 1, we don't need it. It's held 2, we don't need it. And that one's held. Bring back the meshes. And we select held. As you can see, they all connected to each other. You can check in pose mode as well if you wish. And then we're going to take our skeleton and we are going to move to the rig collection. Now, you may think that's it finished. It's not. We need a little bit more setup. So here I'm going to go to skeleton asset, and I'm going to set up the game path. So here it says it's game mesh weapons. Probably should only want to be mesh. I'll show you why in a second. As you can see, it's saying that it's not there. So we go back to Unreal a second. As you can see, it's created it all. It's going to have created a skeleton for each item. So in Blender, we'll go back here, and I'm going to name my skeleton weapon skeleton. I'm going to save all. I'm going to go to the other skeletons and delete them and put them on the weapon skeleton. We got to fix up your redirectors. You will need others show redirectors. So now we have all of the items on the same skeleton. As you can see, they're the correct size. So I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it skeleton. And I'm going to take the skeleton out and put it into the skeleton folder. So now my folder path works. It's games, weapons, skeleton, and weapon skeleton. So now, as you can see, it's no longer red, so it knows the skeleton is there. So now when you send any of these with the pipeline, it's going to automatically assign that skeleton to these items, so you need never worry about it again. So now that we have our base meshes here, I showed you how to do this before. I'm going to mark them all as asset. We have them here, and as you can see, only one skeleton. So I'm going to make some new folders. I'm going to open the sign, actually, I need one more. Go to the other side. I'm going to put them where they belong. So now I've got them all marked as assets, and as I showed you before, I'm going to save the project into me actual file into this folder so that it goes in as part of my library. So now we've set them up as assets and as reference items so that we can line all those stuff up on them. So now new Blender, give myself the asset browser, asset library, go to weapons. Now we can see our weapons, and if we need them, we can drag them in. So now we're going to bring in a new weapon. So I imported one of the packs off the marketplace, the 9,000 swords one. Let's just say you wanted to make this sword in Blender so that you could put it into the project and have it in the same world space. I'm just going to export the 4 meshes. Looking at the wrong screen for a second. I'm not going to bother making a folder for each one. I mean, if you were exporting the whole pack, you would. But as I'm just showing you what to do, I really don't need to. My export window is popping up on another screen, so that's why you're not seeing it. It's just here. Right, so now with them exported, I'm going to go back to Blender and we're going to import them all. Now back in Blender, we're going to import them all. Now as you can see, because of the way it was created, you have the 4 parts and they're separate. So we're going to select them all and Control J to join them all together. So now we have one sword. But obviously we don't know if it's in the correct place and stuff to match ours. So we're going to drag in our sword from our project on Control S, selection the cursor. So as we can see, we're not in the same world space because it's rotated wrong according to our project and it's slightly in the wrong space. So I'm going to press 5 on the numpad and 1 just to give us a square. We can see that it's actually a full 90 degrees the wrong way, so we're just going to rotate on the z-axis by 90 and then that's just done. So 3 to go on the side view, 7 to go to the top view. But as you can see, looks pretty good. It's in pretty much the same place, and we also have the handle. It's almost in the same place. So now our next problem is so this is a static mesh. I want it to be a skeleton mesh that matches the bone that all of these are on. So I'm going to select the mesh, add an armature, select the held. With empty groups. There's our group mate. Now we need to weight paint it, so we're just going to assign the whole thing to, because I just want it all to move with the one bone. As you can see, it's now connected to the bone correctly. I mean, you might want to weight paint it manually. It's not a weight painting thing, it was just to connect it so it acts the same as the other weapons. Now I'm going to switch back to current file. As you can see, it's empty because to save myself time later, our pipeline is going to be the same. So if we make the folders names the same as the other folders on the other project, we'll go into the same place. It's actually swords, not sword. Right, so now when I pipeline this, it's going to go onto the same skeleton that's on the project and into the correct folders. Send it back to Unreal. And there's our weapon back in with the same materials. So you just go and find the materials from the pack and then put them on. So saw blade 01. Like that. And then your sword's one mesh and it's in. Now, if I ever want to, we don't need this sword in here now. if I ever wanted, you should have deleted that one out, by the way, as well, before you actually send it on the pipeline. You don't need to send that one a second time. So if I ever want to alter this sword or reuse it or do something with it, I should really set up another asset. And then that way we'll be able to like reuse it at a later date without importing it again, because you get all your swords in a collection and then you can alter them and do with them as you wish. It's how I would do it anyway. I'm not going to go over setting up another asset for you. Thought I should actually come back to this and show how I would alter a sword that was massively out of the way. So I've centered that one, and as you can see, this one, its origin's here, and it's rotated completely the wrong way. So the first thing you need to do is decide on where the origin's going to go. Now, I would tab into edit mode. I would probably go online, which it is, and then I would zoom in and try, and it's not going to let us, but it might. So I'll probably select one on each side. Try and get the opposite sides. Shift S, cursor to selected. It's going to put the cursor in the middle. I'm going to tab that out into object mode. I want to send origin to 3D cursor. You can search for it with the space bar. Or you can go to object, set origin. Origin 3D cursor, right click and set it to your quick favorites like I did before. Select this, Shift S, send cursor to world origin, and then select it, Shift S, selection to cursor. So now we've got it here, and it's in a much better place. Right, so now we orientated fully the wrong way, so I would 5 on the numpad to log it. I forgot to turn on the keyboard thing, so I would 5 on the numpad to lock it. 1 for just you can use 1, 3, 7 to show you different orientations. So obviously on the X axis, because that's the one that we can't see, you can see the Y and the Z. It's 90 degrees, so I'm going to rotate it X 90. It's the wrong way. So I'm just going to rotate it X minus 90, and it's the correct way. Now we're in the correct way, but I mean you can rotate them manually as well, just by moving the mouse. Just sometimes it's easier to do by numbers. And as you can see, that's spot on, but you can just use the G to grab it and lock it on the Z axis. You could move it up and down, or G to grab it, lock it on any axis you want to move it around. Also, I don't really do it that way personally. How I would do it is, I've also got the two places selected. I would move origin, and it's just a script, and it would move it to see if it's doing all the stuff. I'll probably release a little add-on so that it's just got the button so you can do it, save yourself some time, and the code. Hope it helps. See you next time.